serious relationship. I was your second serious relationship. So what's about this idea that people have to at least date many people until they're ready to settle down?
First and foremost, it's not biblical. Secondly, it's not even statistically proven. If anything, off the top of my head, I think that it would even complicate matters more, because then you have unrealistic expectations, because subconsciously you are comparing, to some attributes. For instance, my wife is a lot more expressive, a lot more confident, and in many other aspects, I appreciate that about her. But, because I had an idea that, like a relationship where you ask questions, there's a problem. So I think it took getting used to. Let me put it that way, But I just feel that you can never go wrong doing things the Bible way, and the Bible definitely does not say you need to explore. For you to do that, you'll be a player. Dating many people without the intention of getting married. No Christian should ever. There is no biblical provision for dating without marriage being the focus. So.
Okay. Somebody's asking, how do you select the right one when the girls around you have similarities?
You have to pick one. That's the thing. And I think that we have this idea of love that makes people ask questions like this. We think that there is one bone of your bone, by the way, just in case you don't already know, Adam did not just say bone of my bone. This is now bone of my bone. He said flesh of my flesh. And so the idea that he said bone of my bone because she was taken from his rib is not right, because she was not... God didn't take Adam's flesh. So when he was saying bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, he was just speaking metaphorically. The fact that she was one of the same kind, and not just another animal. This was another human being. That's what he was saying. And so as much as you can say you're the most beautiful girl in the world, you're one of a kind, it's more accurate to say you are the most beautiful girl in my world, or you are the only girl in my world, and I have made an active, conscious decision to love you and to favor you above all others. Yeah. And it is accompanied by emotions, but it's not.
But guided by commitment.
Exactly, guided. You said.
Thanks, sir.
You can't took me what you can preach. But guided by commitment. So you just have to be committed to one person. So that's just it.
I think that the person you choose has to be the best in your eyes, because if you keep, the reason why I haven't seen anybody better, of course, I think Emmanuel.
I'm trying to be humble.
But even when you were not the Emmanuel Iren, that is now the Emmanuel Iren that everybody knows as.
I've always been Emmanuel Iren, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, I'm happy you do. I'm happy you do. Now make I talk if I want to talk job. I've never actually really been looking. So I think it's important that you keep your eyes focused on the person that you've chosen. I think that's so important. Someone wants to know how we dealt with feelings, emotions, and how did we overcome falling due to sexual urges?
Please,
please answer the question.
There was one day you helped me. I was, and it's man of God. I will never forget that. Man of God just resets me straight up.
Oh my goodness. I think that let me let you
the Lord helped us.
It was the Lord. It really was.
The Lord helped us.
It really was. And I think people need to understand that no matter how spiritual you are, sexual temptation is a real thing. And it's interesting because God put it there for a particular time. So he's not going to remove it, because you need it eventually. You need it in the relationship. So you first want it to be led by the Holy Ghost, and then really
do your best to put checks in place. The reality is, even that is not all there is, because we were very accountable to people, to our parents, but somehow, some way, sometimes, in fact, there were times I will come to your house, I will visit, it's a full house, then everybody's going out, just going about their day. Hey, I'm going to the market, I'm going to the...
and all of a sudden, you are alone.
Then the man of God is speaking in tongues, he wants to touch me. I say, hey, get behind me.
That's what happened. Yes. Angels. Thank God they are saved by grace.
I was speaking in tongues.
But anyway, but I just want you to know that a sexually pure relationship where you wait until the wedding night for sex is possible, and that
God still helped us do it.
God still helped us do it, yes. And that even when you do cross your boundaries, you can always get up, be accountable, and do better, and have a wedding date in mind. Because if you're just dating endlessly, at least if there's a wedding date, this is the day that there will be the fulfillment of the promise. But when you're just dating,
that's why
without end.
Our first almost fight was the wedding reception. Because
he was looking for me.
Because after I've waited all these years, you were now greeting people.
I went to change.
Do fast, make we go out.
I was angry.
What are you talking about? Do fast, make we go.
Oh my God! Someone says, did we have any doubts during the engagement period, and how did we deal with it? Because as young people, you discover you're likely the only married people in your friendship circle. I think that was true. I think we all got friends amongst our friends to
answer that question,
to get married. And I think that if we were not engaged as early as we were, which is why I'm happy you asked me to marry you early, I think we may have broken up. If we're not engaged as early as we were.
Okay.
So I truly believe that, first of all, there was a statement of commitment that we were going to be doing this for life. So that helped us not just say, oh, well, he said this or she said this and just end it. I think that helped us be better committed to each other. And then I think that I always trusted what God had told me about you. I always trusted your love for me, even in times when things were rocky. And then somehow, you actually love me.
Oh, I do.
My husband actually loves me. So even when things were rocky, I think there was always understanding. There were times I was really difficult, but eventually there was always understanding. I don't remember that day that we almost broke up.
No, never.
It's sweet sensation. In fact, like I'm not doing it again. So who will now go now after saying we are done? We're now sitting down there.
That's not the way I remember it, but no problem.
Okay,
I just really thank God that we're here today, and I have no regrets.
Yes, I think that's because now I'm remembering that it was more complicated. But yes, what he said. What do you think should be the maximum age gap between a couple?
That's a difficult question. I feel like the difficulty is not because of any doctrinal limitation, but the reality is that there are practical limitations, and that's what makes it something to really consider. You have to understand that even if it's just a 3-year gap, sometimes it's a lot for two reasons. Number one, just for instance, not because the people I'm about to use as an example should be thinking of marriage or anything. If you are in secondary school, maybe SS2, and someone is in year 1 in the university, even if it's just 2 years or 3 years gap, the exposure is, very, very. So there's a lot of exposure difference, and then generally, it can be easier when it is the guy who is significantly older, but when it is the girl older, naturally, girls mature faster than guys. So, like someone brilliantly said, at the age of 5, a girl has already very likely pictured what her wedding would be like, what she will wear and stuff like that. And a guy is just playing Superman and Batman at that age, And practically, when a guy and a girl graduate same class from the university, the girl is almost ready psychologically for marriage on average. But the guy, it's just like there's this secret pressure that my life is just starting, and that just tells you that there is a huge divide. And that's why even if you are dating your age mate, the guy will have to step up and take some responsibility. So it's now even a more precarious, somewhat challenging circumstance when she's even older. All right, so it depends on the age. Just imagine a 22-year-old guy dating a 28-year-old lady. Maybe he just graduated, she's ready for marriage, and whether you like it or not, even if they don't mind, there's also a biological clock. Ladies have menopause and guys are till infinity. So you see, when ladies are trying to put pressure, or on you or any such thing, just remember that the dynamics are different for them. So there are just some things that make it practically difficult or challenging, and that's why if the girl is going to be older, I would say maybe 3 years max. I would say I'm speaking like Paul, and so that's what I would say.
I think just basically putting into cognizance everything that Pastor has said. I've seen 4 years gaps that have worked. Do you understand? But really, it's about your level of exposure, and then can you submit to this person who is younger than you?
Because Bible rules are Bible rules.
Yeah. So you still have to submit to him, even though you are younger. You still have to submit to him as the head of the relationship. Somebody was asking that, how do you settle with one person when there might be somebody better outside? But I think we found, how are you sure this is the person?
Please don't date, and in your mind you are waiting for someone better to show up. I think people it's a very dishonest thing to do. Don't use anyone to fill your space. That space in your heart. No economic, no manipulation of that sort. I said economic, that was wrong. No manipulation of that sort. When you pick one person, you are going to favor the person above everyone else in the world.
And I think we need to realize that relationships are not a hobby, because sometimes people just pick this person to be dating until they feel their own spouse will come out. Sometimes what happens is your own spouse now comes, but you're already occupied. The person doesn't want you to cheat, so they walk away. So many times you have to be okay with being single. I talk about this in my book, Dating Intelligently.
So if you want to wait, if you think that under normal circumstances, this is not the person you settle with, then just wait.
And just wait.
Because the reality of the situation is both of you will get better with time as your career goals are achieved, as you become more mature, more confident, and all of that. And so, if you have that mindset, even in the deepest recesses of your mind, you are going to be more susceptible to temptation. So you want to avoid that.
I think that's really beautifully said. Somebody wants to know how I dealt with my first pregnancy. When we were married young, I remember thinking to myself, I was just my mommy's baby yesterday, and now I have a baby. So
listen, first and foremost, as a guy, I think that your respect for women will go through the roof, when you see a woman being a human being coming out of your wife. It's not easy at all.
It's not. I remember you cried that day, the day Adima came. And you said, "This girl, if you're ever rude to my wife, I'm gonna deal with
I will spank you." I think that was one of the first things I
That was the first thing you said.
If you disrespect this woman, I'm going to disrespect you.
Like a newborn baby.
So I think psychologically, I had to be strong for you. Like you were going through a lot, and I couldn't respond. Then I was seeing a lot of things
that I wasn't seeing, but I was
exactly like. So I had to be strong. So the moment you were done and your own crying finished, and I held the baby, I didn't even know what came over me. I just started crying. All the bottled emotions.
Oh my goodness! But I think handling it. I think first of all,
and the baby just came out with eyes wide open, looking at everyone like,
and yellow like that. I was like, this girl so fair. But for me, I was grateful to, I think, having exposed to leadership quite early, and I used to. I was one of those people that
been a strong woman. Really.
I was one of those people that used to go to orphanages, try and even from when I was in children's church, I used to take care of the younger children. So I'd always really wanted to be a mom. So I guess that really helped. And then having a strong support system, there was you, and my mom stayed with us for like.
I think that's what made the whole situation very scary for me, because seeing you, one of the strongest women I know, the way you reacted to that, I said this thing must be very painful. The way you did command me, rub my back, leave me alone. One time you were squeezing my hand, I said, you will break this hand.
I remember Nadia's one. I actually wanted to bite your hand. It was like,
to relieve pain.
I said, don't bite me. Oh my God. Somebody wants to know, we're going to have to begin to round off shortly. I think we should be done here by 7. But someone wants to know, do you need to have financial stability before getting married to your partner? Do you need to have it all before marriage?
No, we definitely didn't even have it.
That's why we're talking about intro tech.
You go. So, well, I think what you really need to have is a sense of direction, career-wise. You must have a career path. Listen, so even if you don't need to have it all, the person must be able to see a track record of consistency in your life. That this person, a lot of ladies just marry a lazy guy who would not really exert himself, has no desire to improve, do well for the family. Some would allow their wives to be working, bringing money home, taking care of everybody and all of that. You need to look out for that, because I'm not going to comment on that.
So it's not saying that women should not work. It's just saying that you don't just leave everything to your wife.
I'm telling you. So there should be a track record of consistency, and then you see a clear career path. This person is not where he wants to be, but he's not where he used to be. I think that's very clear. So because you must be able to bet on the person's future. That's what saying yes to someone is. You're taking a bet on the person's future, and it has to be beyond emotions. See, and that's why I said marriage is a project. So butterflies aside, it's not I love you that's going to pay children's school fees. It's not I love you that's going to, and that's why I think you were also someone of great forecast. I even need to ask you, like, how are you crazy enough to take a bet with someone like me? Because on one hand, I knew, like,
you know, like that question there, I know you've mentioned it to me before. You once said thank you for believing in me when there was nothing to believe in. But the thing is that the way I've always seen you, like, you've always been a very big deal to me. So maybe it's a gift of grace, maybe it's, I don't know, but you've always
definitely
been
a gift of grace.
You've always been like a really big deal to me. Even when people say, oh, is that him, or I'm like, what are you talking about? You've always been a big deal to me. So I don't know if it's
like, I understand like me being a big deal to you ministry wise, but when it comes to saying yes to someone who has a call to ministry, and you get what I'm saying. And thank God I was willing to take a job for a 1 year period.
Yes.
But
was it even up to a year? It was a couple of months.
It was exactly. But the reality is, you did say yes before then, and it's very interesting.
I have to investigate that. I think also because I had seen you build stuff.
Yes.
I had seen you build stuff, and I could see your heart.
Yes.
And I just knew.
And then in retrospect also, I just had a very, very sacred mindset of ministry, because it's not as if our ministry was really doing bad.
No,
because they were. I know in my final year, our fellowship actually recorded an inflow of $1 million. But in one particular month. Wow. When we sold. I think we sold 2,000 copies of devotional then. But the reality is, I never put myself on a salary or any such thing.
So the 1 million, it was not for us. It was for the work. And then that was actually a windfall season, because it wasn't as if it was something that we consistently had. But I think it was largely a gift of grace. I think definitely, I always knew that.
Definitely.
And then for me, being with you was price enough. So even if 7 years later
You're touching me with all these words.
Valentine, do something. Shake body.
Remember that next time, Quarrel. Anyway.
PL? Quarrel.
What's that?
But I wanted to say that even if we were still pastoring a church in Ikotun, it would have still been a lot.
Oh, yeah. See, I think I want to say this, that many times people see us. I don't even know what people see when they look at us, because God has helped us to be really content. You know, and now I don't even really dwell on the glamour that people see. Like, there was something big that happened in the ministry, and someone tapped me and said, "Pastor, how do you feel?" And that's when I really thought about it, that, oh, this is big. Like, I just want to please God.
And I think that's the price for me, because I always wanted somebody who just wanted to do what God will have him do. And for me, that was a big deal. So it's incredible that God is having us have an international ministry and travel the world and things like that. But I really wanted somebody who would just follow the Lord. And I guess that's always been it for me, really.
Maruelo.
Somebody wants to know, how did we deal with the fear of, okay, not us, but how do you deal with the fear of getting married, especially when you come from a broken home?
I feel like you have to change your environment. It's very important, because no matter how spiritual you are, you see, never joke with what psychologists call mental models. And if you don't have any close example of good marriages, you have to consciously remove yourself from that space, renew your mind with the word of God, you know, and if possible, just try to, you need good pastors as models, not just pastors who know the word, but have like something remotely close to the kind of marriage that you want and all of that. I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself, because if you're from a broken home, sometimes we underestimate the impact that such things have on us, and some people actually never really recover. There are some people that even when they find the right person, they are subconsciously projecting you know, the failures of their father or their mom on that person, and some of the innocent questions. That there's a way someone can ask you a question and you misjudge the motives of the question, and you answer based on what you think the person is asking, and
because your worldview is shaped by what you've seen.
Exactly. And then you just wonder why you're always quarreling. You know, and it's a huge